Potent Productivity Podcast, where we pull back the curtain and dive into the real emotional journeys behind entrepreneurship. We're your hosts, Sarah
and Robert, and we know that building a business isn't just about crushing your to-do list or chasing overnight success. It's about navigating the ups and downs and unexpected turns that come with following your passion.
We're not here to sell you easy wins or rehearse the same tired success stories you've heard 1,000 times. We're here to talk about the moments when enthusiasm is buried beneath a mountain of tasks, when self-doubt creeps in, and when you're not sure where your road leads next.
So each week, we'll share raw conversations, real lessons, and practical strategies to help you reconnect with your creativity, build resilience, and rediscover what excited you about your business in the first place.
If you're ready for honest talk, community, and actionable inspiration, you're in the right place. Let's get real. Let's reclaim your potent productivity together. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Potent Productivity Podcast. I am here with my lovely co-host, Robert Quebecer. Hey, Robert.
Hello, Sarah. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Can you believe we're at episode 10 already?
What?
I know, it's crazy.
Time flies. Wow.
I know. Yeah.
This is awesome.
So today's topic is around the idea of comparison versus contrast when it comes to feeling like you're not good enough, imposter syndrome, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So yeah, I think for me, especially, this topic has come up a lot recently. And for me, comparison, I mean, they say, don't they? Comparison's the thief of joy. And so
sure,
it can be. But then as a solo business owner, you've got to differentiate yourself from the competition somehow. So there's always that kind of need almost to compare yourself to somebody else because you have to distinguish what's different. But I think the word comparison has just got such a negative connotation to it that people can slip down that slippery slope into imposter syndrome far too easily if they're not careful. What's been your experience?
Yeah, I mean, this is a meat and potatoes topic, seriously, because when I hear the word comparison, I am always comparing how I see myself to how I want to be seen by others or how others see me or whatever. It's always about it. Comparison is a judgment from my perspective. Right, wrong, good, bad, et cetera, all that stuff. Comparison is always a judgment. And the problem with comparison is that there's always going to be someone better and always someone worse. And if I think that I'm the best, that also puts blinders on, and if I think I'm the worst, why bother getting out of bed? And I have certainly operated my businesses from all these different perspectives.
Sure.
Where I can be aggrandizing and I can be, really, arrogant or prideful in my comparison, like, oh man, I got this, it's like nobody can touch me and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and it's like customers don't want to deal with it. They're like, ooh, get away from me. And then, when one of my businesses, when the restaurant was crashing, I was like, I did not want to get out of bed. I did not, it's like I just couldn't face it. Was so hard to face another day, right? Because I was so stuck in the comparisons, and as opposed to being analytical, from a strategic business standpoint, where I could contrast information. It's like I can extract information, evaluate information from a set of business principles, and then make clear decisions. That's not comparison, but if I take it also from the perspective of, competition, my own Robert Quebecer personal perspective is that I do not believe in competition at all. I will see it, but I'm not going to chase after somebody. I'm not going to spend my time, energy, money, whatever, trying to do what someone else is doing or try to beat what someone else is doing.
Hmm.
And the reason is because I've learned my authenticity. I've learned where my strengths are in my business. And when I focus on my strengths, and exhibit that, talk about that, share that, sell that, etc. Nobody can compete with that. And that's not arrogance. That's not at all. It's just no one can duplicate me as much as nobody can duplicate you or even any of our watchers here.
Hmm.
Because no one's had our experience the way we've had it. No one has been able to create what we've created the way that we've created it.
No,
And
exactly.
that gives us that unique perspective. So I don't have to worry about, what the guy across the street's doing with their business, you know, to make an extra penny.
No, no. And I think I have come up against this in two different ways. One is comparing myself to the people, but two is comparing myself to myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
To my previous self or a previous experience or something
Okay.
like that. So oftentimes, because in my previous business, I was in the fitness industry and I was trying to convince the fitness industry to go against what they've been teaching for like, decades and decades, which was obviously very difficult. So it took very open-minded people to even listen to what I was saying. So I would create trainings and I would put them myself out there and I would try and get people interested in this thing. And then people would be like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And then they wouldn't turn up. Or if
Mm,
they did, they wouldn't buy anything. So I put all of my time, energy, and effort into creating what I thought was my best work, and nobody was seeing it. And so the next time it came around that feel like I need to do this training on this thing because these people obviously need to hear it, whatever, the people weren't interested in hearing it. So I
mm,
was comparing myself to the previous time I did it, expecting the same result, you know? And that for me has been quite it's soul destroying. When you're trying
sure.
something new or you're trying a different way of doing something, but you still keep getting the same result, then it's like, well, how do I expect myself now to be any different to how I was 10 years ago when I was still learning this stuff,
Hmm.
you know? And I think that's where the idea of comparison is a negative thing. But if you have to stand out, you have to show your uniqueness, like you said,
Hmm.
you know? And if you don't know what that is, it's really hard to not have that imposter syndrome when you're comparing yourself or trying to stand out in the industry, you have to get noticed at some point. You don't have to be loud and brash and arrogant about it. You just have to be you and saying things that you want to say. Maybe you're slightly different of opinion, whatever it is. Maybe you use bright colors in cartoons like I do because it's fun, you know? But it's different. It makes people pay attention and they'll either like it or they won't. But people seem to think that in order to stand out, they must be crazy different to other people,
Right.
and they must be better than everybody else. And I think that's a really dangerous opinion to have.
Well, and there are people that have stood out in our world, where they are brash, they are, blatantly colorful in wonderful ways and things like that. And but it fits with it's in alignment with their brand, with their identity, with their product, with their service, with their outcomes. Everything's in alignment.
Yeah.
When things are not out of light, you're trying to do this, you're just throwing spaghetti on the wall or something like that. Not that you want to do something that horrible with something as delicious as spaghetti, but the point is that, you know, when you're trying to make everything work and you don't have an aligned set of principles to how you see yourself.
Mm,
And that's where the imposter syndrome shows up. That's where the idea that I am a fraud, I am no good, there's something wrong with me.
mhm,
And when I've tried in the past to do that same experiment with the same result, etc., it's very frustrating
Mm.
because it's not that the system is broken, it's that I'm broken,
Mm. Oh, yeah.
right? And so that's where the root of imposter syndrome is, the belief that there's something wrong with me.
Hmm.
There's not. There's nothing
No.
wrong with you. Get over it.
Yeah.
Get, get on. Done. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken.
No.
And I will tell my clients this over and over and over again. You are not broken, no matter how horrible you think your life is. You yourself, as a human being, are not broken.
Hmm.
The only thing is that what's not working is how you are implementing, how you're showing up, what processes you're using. It's the processes that are broken. It's the strategy that's broken, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think that's why the idea of contrast for me is so
Mm,
powerful. Because when you're holding up two different examples of the same thing, maybe it's you and somebody else, or maybe it's an experience you've had before and one that's coming up, or one that an old one and a new one,
yeah.
you you see it from a different perspective than when you're comparing.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when you're contrasting, you looking for those differences, you're looking for the things that make them stand out. And when you're looking at yourself and you're contrasting yourself to somebody else,
Hmm.
then you can start to see where you shine, because you do things differently. Yes, I just said do. But you do things differently, and that's a good thing, even though the result might be the same thing as somebody else is teaching. The way that you do it can be the thing. It can be the voice that somebody needs to hear at the right time. I remember probably 20 years ago, I was talking to a physio, and she paid for this training that she never got round to doing. I mean, how many of us have done that? And, yeah, me. And so she had revisited recently this training that she'd paid for years before.
Mm.
And she just went, I just don't think I was ready to hear it then, because now it makes so much sense. And I've had that experience so many times. People say to me, well, I've heard some of this stuff before, but the way that you're explaining it makes total sense to me. And they had all of the pieces before. It just never made sense. And it's not that I'm special in what I'm doing or saying, or I'm just being me. And if my voice is the one that makes it make sense to you and nobody else's did, great.
Yeah. And that's what's amazing. It's like I'm looking on my bookshelves over here. No, I'm not going to turn my camera over there, but I've got these big binders. There's like 20 binders over here, of all these different programs and courses and things like that I've taken, around and some of them are complete, some of them are not complete,
Mhm.
you know, but the problem is that when I think that I'm looking for that magic bullet or whatever, that magic solution. It's like, this is the answer. This course is the answer. No, this course is the answer. No, this course is the answer. I set myself up for failure because now I have placed someone or something above myself.
Mhm.
And for me, it's really important to recognize that I have to see everyone as equals. We're only unequal in terms of our knowledge and our experience in implementing that knowledge, which takes practice.
Mm.
And that's where a coach comes in. I don't look at my coaches and mentors as someone above me anymore. I used to. And that always made me feel less than.
Mm.
Go figure. If they're
Mhm.
above, I'm less, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm equal, wow, then I can really begin to absorb the concepts.
Mhm.
So when a client's looking to me or they're looking to you, it's not that we are the greatest things on the planet. We have had experiences that allow us to align to certain people in a certain way that truly, truly is magical. It
Hmm.
truly helps moves them into a whole nother aspect of experiencing their business and feeling that fulfillment that they want, and you and we can't give that to someone if they think that we are the answer to all their problems.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the answer to everybody's problems.
No, me
Sorry.
neither. No,
I really don't.
no.
At one point in my past, I will admit that I did want that. So it's like the good old fashioned Jesus complex,
Uh-huh.
that most folks go through. But anyhow, you know,
Yeah. And I think that's the point for me really here is that the language that we use to speak to ourselves, you know, it's really important because my my theorem or my thinking on the whole issue has always been that I can learn from everybody,
yeah,
right? There's lots of people out there who think, oh, you're only in your 20s and you must not know anything and blah, blah. I know 5-year-olds that have been through more life experience than many 20-year-olds,
well, yeah,
and most of it's not good,
yeah,
but they
exactly.
have come through the other side, and you never know what somebody else has been through. So for me, learning from everybody has always been a pleasure for me. You know, if I can learn from my 13-year-old niece, great, because she has a perspective on life that I don't have.
Mm.
And I'm never going to have because I'm not her, you know? So if I've been through my life, the experiences I've had during my life, and Robert, you've had your experiences during your life, they create the lenses that we look at everything through. And my lens is different to your lens, and it's different to every single person listening to this. And when we come together and we talk about a topic, we can have 100 different opinions and 100 different ways of looking at the same thing. And when we share those opinions, we start learning so much
Hmm.
because we're not, oh, this is the best way. I mean, Stu Smith says the best thing ever. He says it's a way, it's not the way,
Right,
and that's exactly it. Exercise is a perfect example. You can exercise any which way you like. It's a way, it's not the way.
right.
And I think when we come to accept that we are experts in our own lives and in our own experiences, and we have skill sets that are unique to us because our brains are wired so individually based on those experiences and the challenges we've faced and how we've got through those challenges. When we package that and we start to contrast ourselves and that experience with somebody else's experience, then we start to see where we can really make a difference.
And you're reminding me here of something about the idea of feeling like a fraud. When we feel like a fraud, no matter what we do, will feel right.
Mm,
We could be enrolled in the best course on the planet. We could be executing the best strategy for our business,
mm-hmm,
but it won't feel right because we don't feel right about ourselves.
mm-hmm,
If I can't believe in myself, how can I believe in anything that I'm doing? How can I believe in any of my choices?
mm-hmm.
How could I trust myself to make good choices for myself?
Yeah,
It doesn't work.
no. And then, of course, how can you expect anybody else to trust you
Right,
if you don't trust yourself?
right,
Because it seeps through
right.
everything that we do.
Oh, it
Everything.
does. It does.
If I feel miserable, then it seeps through every action that I take, even when I'm trying to smile. The people who know me best will be like, yeah, you can stop that now.
Right,
Because you're just pretending.
right, right.
Everything is not fine, but it doesn't matter how often you say, oh yeah, I'm okay or I'm good or, it's
Yeah.
people know.
Yeah. We have these little lovely things called mirror neurons sitting right up here,
Cool.
and those mirror neurons give it all away.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody's walking up to you from 100 feet away, you might already be able, to begin to sense what's going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
feel their vibe, as it
Yeah.
were. and people will feel my vibe. I walk into a room, Robert, are you okay?
Hmm.
Robert, wow, things must be going great. You look great, or whatever. So it's always an inside out reflection.
Mm,
It is,
yeah.
you know. And, as so coming from someone who was a professional clown, makeup, pink hair, and everything, right? The outside impressions only go far enough because I can tell you that even when I had my happiest clown face on, if I was feeling really dreadful because of something that happened in my life, those kids knew.
Mm,
And there was no faking it,
no, kids are great at it.
you
Kids are
know?
great at picking out
Oh
how
yeah.
well you're doing, but
Yeah.
somehow as adults we lose that,
Yeah. Because
because we're
we're afraid
so,
of being a kid.
yeah, we're afraid of making mistakes and trusting ourselves
Yeah.
and
Which is called what? Playfulness. It's like, how
yeah.
can you run a successful business without that playfulness, from my perspective,
Mm,
And no matter how rigid or serious or the business, it's like creativity requires playfulness. It requires experimentation,
mhm.
and because that's where the best ideas are truly, truly born,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's awesome. And I mean, it's like we've been talking about a lot of really important aspects here, and I just want to segue just a moment, and talk about the academy program that you have because a lot of what we're talking about, you teach in your academy.
I do. Yeah.
And can you just share a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, the academy really is about recognizing your emotional self as a solo business owner and how that plays out in all of the elements of your business.
Mm,
So the feelings and the emotions that you go through, if you can harness those and use those to your advantage in
mm,
your business, then you're going to be streaks ahead of everyone else and yourself from how you felt before. So we've been talking a lot about imposter syndrome, and that really stems from a lack of feeling like you're worthy,
mhm,
feeling relevant, feeling credible in what you're doing. And so we deal with those issues to help you feel relevant and credible and like you belong with the people that you're trying to help. Because most of the time, I mean, I've heard it before. It's like, pick a niche. It's like I could just go, okay. And for me, I work with people who really want to make a difference. They want to feel like they are making a valuable contribution to the world. And so it's not about money. So picking a random niche like that doesn't work. You have to feel like you're making a difference to those people. But what we seem to leave out of that conversation is whether you feel like you belong with those people or not.
mm,
And belonging is such a powerful thing because if you feel like you belong with those people, you don't have to pretend anymore, right? You can be vulnerable with those people and you can say, I tried this, it didn't work. What do I do now? And you can get just as much help from those same people as you can help them, you know? And then it feels like a giving and receiving rather than wanting something from them.
mhm.
And the whole approach to your business changes when you match and align your emotions to your values and to everything else that you're trying to do with the things that you want for your business. And that's really what the academy is about.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. And as somebody who has been through that academy myself, I can say that there's a lot of clarity that is given to help me um, make those important decisions about myself and what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, what's working, what's not working.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just have to say, you don't have to go through 20 years of therapy or relive any trauma or anything like that. It's like really simple, practical things you can do to just pull out the things you need to fulfill those emotions, and then you can move your business forward.
Yes. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Cool. So I want to know from you, dear listeners, dear watchers, viewers, whatever you want to call yourselves, how has comparison affected you in your business? And do you think that the word contrast would help you to change that? I'm just curious.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So send us your replies in our chat and be sure to subscribe. Visit potentproductivitypodcast.com
Mhm.
for all of our episodes and upcoming goodies.
And links to the academy and all that kind of stuff. You can find it all there.
Yes.
So yeah, cool. Well, I would like to know your biggest takeaway from today, please, Robert.
Yeah, I think just the real distinction between comparing and contrast, between judgment and fact,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And I think for me, the thing that underpins everything is how you feel. It drives all of your actions. So if you can change something small, like the language that you're using about yourself and what you believe, then it will help you to drive more positive actions rather
Mhm.
than uh, wallowing in the pit of despair that we have all done many times. So yeah, I think
Excellent.
that's a great place to end this conversation. I would like
I
to thank
agree.
you as always for your time, Robert. It's always a pleasure. We'll see
Awesome.
you next time.
Cheers, all.